Ever feel like you're pouring your heart into a relationship, but it's just not quite landing?
Yeah, that's so common.
Like you're speaking one language and your partner's hearing another.
It really is. And, Gary Chapman tackles this head on in his book, The Five Love Languages.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it.
He says a lot of relationships, they don't actually falter because of a lack of love.
Really?
Yeah, but because we're expressing it in ways our partners just don't understand.
Like we're just not speaking the same language.
Exactly.
So, okay, what are these love languages then?
Well, just imagine love as a language
Okay.
with 5 distinct dialects.
Okay.
And each one represents a different way people give and receive love.
Okay.
We all have a primary love language, the
Yeah.
one that makes us feel truly loved and appreciated.
So it's not just about saying, I love you then.
No.
It's about saying it in a way that really speaks to your partner's heart,
Yes,
using the right dialect.
Yep. Yeah, so Chapman identifies those 5 love languages as words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Interesting. So you're saying if we're not speaking our partner's primary love language, our efforts to show love, they just might miss the mark.
Exactly, like you're trying to have a conversation with someone who speaks a completely different language.
Right.
You might be saying all the right things, but they just won't get it.
It just won't translate.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. So let's break down each of these love languages. First up, what about words of affirmation?
Okay, so think of someone who just lights up when you give them a compliment or offer encouragement or just, express your appreciation verbally.
Yeah.
For them, hearing those words, it's like receiving a warm embrace for their soul.
So it's not just about these huge pronouncements of love then.
No.
It's also those smaller, everyday compliments and encouragements.
Absolutely. It could be something small like, you look great today, or a heartfelt, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Or even a sincere, thank you for doing the dishes that really helped me out.
Yeah. Actually, Chapman shares a great story in his book
Oh, yeah.
about this woman named Allison, who was an aspiring writer.
Oh, yeah, Allison.
She's just struggling with self-doubt.
Yes, and her husband recognized her talent
Mm-hmm.
and consistently affirmed her, telling her things like, you're an amazing writer, this stuff should be published.
Wow, yeah.
These words of affirmation, they gave her the courage to keep writing, and eventually she achieved her dream of becoming a published author.
It's amazing how powerful a few well-chosen words can be,
It is.
especially for someone whose primary love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah, and it's not just compliments either.
Okay.
Words of affirmation, they can also be kind words, encouragement, and even constructive criticism,
Oh, okay.
as long as it's delivered with love and respect.
So it's more about the tone and the intention behind the words.
Exactly. It's important to frame things as requests, not demands. Chapman gives the example of a husband who wants his wife to make his favorite pasta dish.
So he could say something like, hey, would you mind making that delicious pasta sometime this week? I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, exactly. That's a loving and respectful request.
Yeah.
But if you were to say, why can't we ever have a decent meal around here?
Yeah.
That would just be a demand.
Right.
And it'll likely shut down communication.
Yeah, it would make her feel bad, too.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense. So even within words of affirmation, there are, like, different dialects.
Exactly. Yeah. Words of encouragement, kind words, compliments, even constructive criticism can all be ways to express love through words of affirmation.
Got it. Okay, so we've explored words of affirmation. Next, what about quality time?
Okay, so for someone whose primary love language is quality time, nothing speaks louder than your undivided attention. They crave your presence, your focus, your genuine interest in what they have to say.
So it's not just about being in the same room, then it's about truly being present.
Yes, physically and emotionally. Imagine you're trying to have a deep conversation with someone, but they keep checking their phone.
Oh, yeah. Or, like, glancing at the TV.
Yes, exactly. It's like their body is there, but their mind is somewhere else.
You wouldn't feel heard or valued.
No, not at all.
And Chapman, he tells a story about this couple, Bill and Betty Jo.
Oh, yeah, Bill and Betty Jo.
So what happened there?
So Betty Jo's love language was quality time,
Okay.
and Bill just didn't get it.
Uh-oh.
He would try to talk to her while he was watching TV or working on the computer.
So he wasn't really present.
He wasn't, and Betty Jo felt neglected and unloved even though Bill was there physically.
Right.
He wasn't giving her that quality time she craved.
That just highlights how crucial it is to understand our partner's love language,
It is.
to make an effort to speak it.
Yes, and just like words of affirmation, quality time also has its own dialects.
Oh, tell me more about those.
Okay, so Chapman highlights quality conversation and quality activities as two key dialects.
So what makes a quality conversation then?
It's about being present,
Okay.
maintaining eye contact,
Yeah.
listening without interrupting,
Mm-hmm.
and engaging in meaningful conversation.
Not just small talk.
No, like really connecting.
Yeah.
And Chapman emphasizes the importance of self-revelation.
Oh, what's that?
It's about sharing your thoughts and feelings openly and honestly,
Okay.
creating a space for real vulnerability.
So it's not just about listening.
No, you have to open up yourself.
Got it.
And he even suggests keeping a journal
Oh, interesting.
to become more aware of your inner world.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Journaling can definitely help us understand our own emotions better.
It can.
And then there's quality activities.
Yeah, so that can be anything from going for a walk to having a picnic to visiting a museum,
Yeah.
working on a project together.
As long as you're both fully present.
Yeah, the key is to choose activities you both enjoy and just focus on connecting with each other.
Okay. So we've covered words of affirmation and quality time. What's next?
Let's talk about receiving gifts.
Okay.
Now, before you get any ideas, this isn't about being materialistic or expecting fancy presents.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
It's about the thought behind the gift.
Okay.
For those whose love language is receiving gifts, it's a visual reminder that they are cared for.
Like a physical manifestation of love.
Exactly.
Well,
And you know, Chapman actually, he goes into the history of gift giving.
really?
Yeah, he highlights how it's universal across cultures
Oh,
as an expression of love and connection.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and he even shares a personal story in the book.
Oh, what is it?
So he was doing some research in Dominica
Okay.
when this local man named Fred, he gave him a green coconut and a crooked stick.
What, a green coconut and a crooked stick?
Yeah.
Those are interesting gifts.
They are, but to Chapman, they represented genuine love and friendship
Oh, that's so sweet.
from someone who had very little to give materially.
It's a nice reminder that it's not about how much money you spend.
No.
It's about the thought behind it.
Yeah, and even small, inexpensive gifts can mean the world to someone whose love language is receiving gifts.
Like what?
A handwritten note, a flower,
Mm-hmm.
their favorite snack, anything that shows you were thinking about them.
Oh, that's so thoughtful.
Yeah,
I could see how those small gestures would make someone feel really special.
they do.
So Chapman tells a powerful story in his book about this couple, Doug and Kate.
Oh, yes, Doug and Kate.
Their marriage was falling apart,
It was.
and Doug was clueless.
Yeah?
I'm guessing Kate's love language was receiving gifts.
You guessed it.
Okay.
She felt unloved because Doug wasn't speaking her language.
Even though he was providing for her financially?
Yeah, he kept a roof over their heads, but she wasn't getting those little reminders of his love.
So what happened when he finally understood?
It's like a light bulb went off.
Yeah.
He started bringing her flowers, little gifts, just because.
Wow.
And suddenly their relationship turned around.
It's crazy how understanding the 5 love languages can make such a difference.
It really is.
And you know what? I'm not much of a gift giver myself.
Oh, really?
So does Chapman have any advice?
He has some tips on becoming a better gift giver,
Oh, good.
even if it doesn't come naturally to you.
Okay, what are they?
He suggests paying attention to things your partner mentions liking.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe keep a little notebook of gift ideas.
That's a good idea. I should do that.
Yeah, or ask friends or family for suggestions.
Oh, yeah. Great tips.
Ah.
Okay. So we've talked about words of affirmation, quality time, and receiving gifts. What's next?
Let's explore acts of service.
Okay.
For someone whose primary love language is this actions speak louder than words.
So it's about showing love by doing things for your partner.
Exactly. Those tangible expressions of love, like
Yeah.
helping with chores, running errands, just lending a hand when they're overwhelmed.
Yeah. Can you give me an example?
Okay, imagine your partner is super stressed about work. If their love language is acts of service, you could offer to make dinner,
Yeah.
do the dishes, or pick up something from the store so they can just focus on work.
Yeah. Those are all really helpful and thoughtful gestures.
They are.
And Chapman shares this story in the book
Oh, yeah.
about this couple named Mark and Mary.
Oh, yeah, Mark and Mary, I remember them.
They were both struggling to feel loved,
They were.
even though they were doing stuff around the house.
Right.
So why weren't they feeling it?
So they were both speaking the same language, acts of service,
Okay.
but using different dialects.
What do you mean?
Mark wanted Mary to keep the house tidy
Okay.
and have dinner ready when he got home from work.
That's pretty traditional.
It is,
Yeah.
but Mary wanted Mark to help with the baby and the yard work.
They were both doing things.
Yes, but not the things that were most important to each other. And they were getting resentful.
Yeah, because they felt unappreciated.
Exactly.
So what do they do?
So Chapman, he helped them create these request lists.
Request lists.
Yeah, where they each wrote down specific things that would make them feel loved.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It takes out the guesswork.
Yeah.
And make sure you're speaking the same dialect.
Okay.
And once they started focusing on doing those specific things for each other, their relationship completely changed.
Wow, that's amazing.
It is.
And they both felt loved and appreciated.
Yes, and all that resentment just went away.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes love is about paying attention to the little things.
It is.
Those little acts of service can make all the difference.
Yeah, and Chapman emphasizes that when you're making these requests, it's important to frame them in a loving way.
Oh, yeah, so not like a demand.
Right, so instead of, you never take out the trash.
Right.
You could try, would you mind taking out the trash? It would really help me out.
Okay, yeah, much better.
It's much softer.
Yeah, a subtle shift in language,
Yeah.
but makes a big difference.
It does.
So we've done words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, and acts of service. There's
Yeah.
one left, right?
Yes, the final love language.
Okay.
And it's all about physical touch.
Okay, tell me more about that.
For someone whose primary love language is physical touch,
Yeah.
touch is how they communicate love and security.
So it's about hugs, kisses, holding hands, cuddling?
Yes, exactly. And it's not just about sexual intimacy.
Right.
It's a whole range of non-sexual touches that can be really meaningful.
Like what?
It could be a hug when you see them,
Yeah.
holding hands, a kiss on the cheek, a
Mm.
back rub at the end of a long day, or just sitting close while watching TV.
I love all of those things.
Me too.
But not everyone's comfortable with the same level of touch, right?
That's right. It's crucial to respect your partner's boundaries.
Yeah.
And communicate openly about your needs and comfort levels.
Right. You don't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
Definitely not. And Chapman, he actually tells a story about a couple, Pete and Patsy.
How Pete and Patsy? What happened with them?
So they were having issues because Pete's need for physical touch wasn't being met.
Okay. I'm guessing Patsy's love language wasn't physical touch.
You got it.
Okay, what was it?
It was quality time.
Okay.
So she would try to express love to Pete by spending time with him,
Okay.
having depth conversations, but Pete wasn't feeling it.
Because he wasn't getting those physical expressions of affection.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were missing each other.
They were trying, but just speaking different languages.
Right. And Pete felt rejected.
Yeah, even though Patsy didn't mean to hurt him at all.
They were both just missing the mark.
They were.
So did they figure things out in the end?
They did. They went to therapy
Okay.
and learned about the 5 love languages.
Okay.
Once Patsy understood how important touch was to Pete,
Yeah.
she made an effort to be more physically affectionate,
Oh.
and their relationship healed.
Sometimes something as small as a hug or a kiss can make all the difference.
It really highlights the importance of understanding and speaking your partner's love language.
So we've now explored all 5 of the love languages.
Mhm.
Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. This has been so eye-opening.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It is, but now I'm curious, how do we actually figure out our own love language and that of our partner?
That's a great question, and that's what we'll dive into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, awesome. Can't wait.
So, as we're talking about these love languages,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that love isn't just a feeling.
Okay.
It's a choice.
What do you mean by that? Isn't love supposed to be this, like, spontaneous thing?
Right. So the early stages, yeah.
Yeah, all those butterflies?
Exactly. It's all filled with that intense in-love feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But Chapman, he says, true love goes beyond that.
Beyond the butterflies.
Yeah, it's a conscious decision to love your partner even when it's hard,
Even when you're not feeling it.
even when those butterflies have faded.
So you're saying it's about choosing to love every single day.
Exactly. Day in and day out.
Okay.
Even when you're not feeling particularly loving.
Even when you're fighting.
Yes. And Chapman actually, he uses this really powerful analogy
Okay.
to describe this whole in-love experience.
Okay.
He calls it the anteroom of heaven.
Oh, I like that.
It's euphoric but temporary,
Okay.
and it can feel like paradise.
It does feel like that.
Yeah, it captures that feeling of being swept off your feet, but just like an anteroom.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be permanent.
Right.
Eventually, you have to step out of that and face reality.
Yeah, the honeymoon phase can't last forever.
Right.
And that's when the real work begins.
Exactly.
It's about choosing to love your partner even when things get tough.
Exactly. And Chapman says this kind of love, it takes effort. Commitment, a willingness to put your partner first.
Even when it's hard.
Yes, even when it's inconvenient.
Yeah, he even shares a personal story about learning to speak his wife's love language,
Oh, yeah.
even though it didn't come naturally to him.
Oh, yeah, the vacuuming story.
That's right,
Yeah.
the vacuuming story. So for those who haven't read the book, what happened?
Okay, so his wife's primary love language was acts of service.
Okay.
And she loved a clean house.
Okay.
But Chapman hated vacuuming.
But he did it anyway.
He did because he loved his wife and wanted her to feel loved. He made the choice to vacuum regularly.
Even though he hated it.
Even though he did.
It's a great example of how choosing to love means sometimes you have to do things you don't enjoy
You do.
simply because it makes your partner happy.
Exactly.
And it's not always about chores, right?
No, it can also be about being patient.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiving them when they mess
Yeah.
up. Just being there for them when they need you.
Even when you're tired.
Even when you are.
Yeah. It sounds like choosing to love takes a lot of selflessness.
It does.
Putting your partner's needs before your own.
It does. But Chapman, he makes it clear that it's not about sacrificing your own happiness. It's about finding a balance. Meeting both your needs and your partner's needs.
Yeah, like a two-way street.
Exactly.
It's give and take.
Yeah, and it's interesting how this idea of choosing to love relates back to the whole in-love experience.
Oh, how so?
Well, Chapman points out that on average, that intense in-love feeling only lasts about 2 years.
Seriously.
2 years.
2 years. That's it.
How short?
It does seem short, but it makes sense when you think about it from a biological perspective.
Okay.
Those feelings are there to draw us together, to bond us,
Okay.
and, encourage us to procreate.
Okay. So it's like nature's way of making sure we have babies.
Exactly.
Okay.
But once those hormones settle down,
Yeah.
we're left with a choice.
To stay or to go.
Exactly. Do we move on to the next person, or do we actually commit to building something real? Unfortunately, a lot of people choose to move on
They do. They keep chasing that in-love high.
instead of putting in the work.
Ex-
And I think part of the problem is we're always shown these unrealistic portrayals of love.
We are in movies, TV shows,
Yeah.
books, even ads.
It's all about passion and fireworks.
Yeah, like that initial excitement is all that matters.
Right. But real love is different.
It's quieter,
Yeah.
more subtle.
It's about the everyday moments,
Exactly.
not the grand gestures.
No.
So how do we move beyond that obsession with being in love?
That's where the 5 love languages come in.
Okay.
By understanding and speaking your partner's language, you're choosing to love them in a way that they understand.
In a way that really resonates with them.
Exactly. And it nourishes their soul.
It's about meeting their needs.
Yes. Even when it's hard. Even when it requires sacrifice.
And Chapman compares our need for love to our need for food and water.
He does.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. He says just like we need to nourish our bodies, we need to nourish our relationships with love.
I like that.
And that nourishment, it comes in the form of love expressed in a way that our partner gets.
Yeah, it makes sense when you think about it. When we're physically hungry, we get irritable.
We do.
We can't focus.
Exactly. And it's the same when we're emotionally starved for love.
Yeah, we might withdraw or lash out.
Exactly.
So it's crucial to prioritize both our physical and emotional health.
It is.
And that's where the 5 love languages can really help.
They can. It's about making our partner feel truly loved.
Okay, so this has been so helpful.
It is a fascinating topic.
It is, but what happens when our own needs aren't being met?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, what if you're putting in all the effort,
Mm-hmm.
speaking your partner's love language, but they're not doing the same for you?
Yeah, that can be so frustrating.
It can.
It's disheartening when you feel like you're the only one trying.
What do you do in those situations?
Well, first you need to talk to your partner.
Yeah, communication is key.
It is let them know how you're feeling
Mm-hmm.
and what you need.
But what if they don't listen?
Yeah, what if they're not willing to change? That's when things get really complicated.
Yeah.
And Chapman, he admits that sometimes love isn't enough.
What do you mean?
Sometimes a relationship just isn't meant to be,
Even if you love each other.
even if you do.
So you're saying that sometimes walking away is the best thing.
Sometimes it is for both of you.
It's never an easy decision.
It's not, but it's important to remember that you deserve to be with someone who loves you back.
Yeah, someone who meets your needs,
Exactly.
makes you feel valued.
Yes.
That's a really important message.
It is.
Love isn't always easy.
It's not. It takes work, sacrifice, forgiveness.
Yeah.
But it's also one of the most rewarding things in life.
When you find that person
When you do.
who speaks your language.
It is truly a gift.
Okay, so this has been so insightful,
It has.
but we still need to answer that big question.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do we figure out our love language and our partners?
Exactly.
That's what we'll talk about in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, looking forward to it. Okay, so we've talked about all these love languages, but how do we actually figure out what ours is?
Right. So Chapman, he gives us some really good questions to think about.
Okay.
One of the simplest is, what makes you feel most loved?
It sounds simple,
Yeah.
but I can see how that could be really revealing.
It is. It really gets to the heart of it.
Yeah.
So think back to times when you felt really loved.
Okay.
What was happening?
Mm-hmm.
What was your partner doing or saying?
Yeah. If we look for those patterns,
Mm-hmm.
we might start to see what really resonates with us.
Exactly. And on the flip side,
Okay.
Chapman suggests paying attention to what you complain about.
Oh, interesting. So our complaints can actually tell us something.
They can be clues to our unmet needs.
Okay.
Like if you always say, we never spend time together,
Right.
that might mean quality time is important to you.
Yeah, or I wish you would help around the house more.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
could point to acts of service.
So it's like our complaints are our way of trying to say, hey, I need this.
That's a great way to put it.
And what about the things we ask for all the time?
Yes. Chapman says pay attention to those too.
Okay.
Like if you're always asking for hugs,
Huh.
that could mean physical touch is your language.
Yeah, makes sense. Or if you're always seeking words of encouragement.
Exactly. That could mean words of affirmation is your primary language.
Got it.
Even those little requests, they can reveal a lot.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. But what if someone has trouble identifying their love language?
Right. So Chapman acknowledges that some people might struggle with this.
Yeah, like maybe they haven't experienced a lot of love.
Right. Or their needs have been neglected for so long
Yeah.
that they've lost touch with what makes them feel loved.
Right.
So in those cases,
Yeah.
he suggests going back to the beginning of a relationship
Oh, okay.
and thinking about what drew you to your partner in the first place.
So those initial sparks of attraction can tell us something.
They can think about what qualities you found most attractive. What did they do or say that made you feel loved back then?
So tapping into those memories might help uncover our love language.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And another approach is to imagine your ideal partner.
Okay.
What would they be like?
Mhm.
How would they treat you?
Yeah, what would they do to make you feel loved?
Exactly. And by picturing that perfect partner,
Yeah.
you might gain more clarity on your own love language.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Chapman, he also has a quiz in his book.
Oh, that's cool.
It can help you pinpoint your primary language.
So it's like a fun way to explore this with your partner.
It is.
Yeah, like that.
And it's not just for romantic relationships.
Oh, right.
These love languages, they apply to all kinds of relationships.
That's true.
Family, friends, colleagues.
Yeah, we all have emotional needs.
We do. And understanding how different people give and receive love can help us build stronger connections.
It's about being more mindful,
Yeah.
more intentional in our relationships. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 5 love languages,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really struck by how simple yet profound Chapman's message is.
It is.
Love isn't this big mystery.
Right. It's a language we can learn
Yeah.
with practice, intention, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones.
It's about recognizing that we all experience love differently
We do.
and making the effort to love people in a way that speaks to them,
Exactly. And when we do that, we can transform our relationship,
create deeper connections.
build a more loving world.
So if you found this deep dive helpful,
Yeah.
we encourage you to check out Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages.
It's a great read.
It is. And remember,
Yeah.
the journey of love, it starts with a choice.
It does the choice to love.